Greetings, fellow Watford fans. I'm Omar Moore, and welcome to the Orns 10-minute take on Arsenal 1, Watford nil. The game today for Watford, a better one in terms of their defensive performance, better defensively in open play against the live ball, and certainly better again on the defending against set pieces. Now, that's something that Claudio Ranieri has bedded into this team, and it's continuing to improve. And that happened today. Watford, I think, as a team, defended better than they did last week against Southampton, more aggressively on the defensive end for Watford. And as I say, against the live ball, they were significantly better, despite the goal from Emile Smith Rowe in the 56th minute or so of this game. Watford has come into the game looking for their first clean sheet of this Premier League season. They got to half time with a clean sheet, but it was that goal about 10 or 11 minutes into the second half from the Arsenal side that gave Watford, unfortunately, a 1-0 deficit, which they could not overcome in this game. Ball kind of ricocheted and it came out to Smith Rowe, who drove the ball hard and low into the corner of the net past a Ben Foster, who had an excellent game today. Ben Foster dived there, but Ben Foster had an excellent game in goal for Watford. I thought that he was the man of the match for Watford today. It could have been a lot worse than 1-0 had it not been for Ben Foster's penalty save in the 36th minute of the game, and then a kick save, reflex save shortly thereafter, all in the first half, as Foster, in his 500th career appearance, getting in on the act with a really good performance in goal, his best so far in a Watford shirt. I think that he can be very pleased with his performance. I think the defense generally, as I said, can be much more pleased with the way they defended. They defended as a team today. They defended with a defensive mentality and cohesion today. They defended better as a team today. The only issue I have with the back line was Danny Rose. Now, Danny Rose looks a long way off it now. And, that's a question for Ranieri. And, Rose has been otherwise fairly good this season, but the Liverpool game, of course, exposed him tremendously. And this game today, at times, making some very rash decisions and yielding too much space at times as well. I think that Danny Rose having another off game certainly does not help him. We will see if Ranieri does put him back, though, in the starting 11 the next time around, because it's an international break coming up here now for the next 2 weeks. But generally speaking, I am pleased with the Watford performance, obviously not with the result. Despite the result, I think that Watford's performance defensively is an improvement. I think Watford still have some improvements to make. Their balance on the pitch needs to continue to progress. And I think what Ranieri is doing is starting off with the defending. He did say at the pre-match press conference a few days ago that Watford spent all week on defensive drills and as well on achieving balance in the other areas of the pitch, how Watford attack as well. One of the things I called for is for them also to do a lot of time defensively, and they clearly did that. You can see it, and you saw it today in the way they defended as a team. I thought that the central defensive pairing was good. And again, they've just started to get to know each other, really, Cathcart and Nkulu. I think Nkulu was very good. I think Nkulu still has to get fit, but I think that he acquitted himself very well today. I think Cathcart had a much improved game. It was very good. And, look, I know that to me, numbers do not tell the full story in a lot of games. But Cathcart today, certainly a vast improvement. I thought it was very good. Kong, the odd man out. Obviously, Kong sat, and I hope that he learned from this particular game because, he didn't have a great game either last week. So nobody had a great game last week, Watford defensively. Cathcart, Kong, all of them were very poor last week. But today, what you saw was a defensive pairing and centre backs that looked like they could be something. And I like the discipline. I like the command of the defense today. I like the fact that they closed down a lot more of the space than they have in recent weeks, particularly when Southampton were running all over us last week. What you saw today at the Emirates from Watford was a committed performance to closing down space, to forcing Arsenal into the middle of the pitch on some occasions, and also to defending the channels much better. I think Kiko Femenia did well as he started his first start for Watford in a while. I thought he acquitted himself very well. I think he defended a lot better. I think he had a bit more bite to his defending. I think did very well today, Kiko Femenia, in terms of his defensive discipline. And generally speaking, the team did as well. I know there was a commitment to team defending today. I was very pleased with now the midfield. I saw a few improvements there. I liked the way that Kuchka played today, even though he got sent off. That referee, Kevin Friend, can you keep your cards in your pocket just once? I mean, goodness gracious me. Kevin Friend, who refereed the FA Cup final that we got hammered in 2 years ago, was never someone who was going to be miserly with his cards. I know the Christmas spirit is coming, and we're in the holiday season. And Kevin Friend certainly knows that the gift of giving is giving out yellow cards, and he administered that yellow card to Kuchka, the second one. And I didn't see it at the time. That's why I was at the time going, well, wait a minute, where's this red card come from? Can he appeal it here? I thought he could, but then I hadn't seen that Friend had put out a second yellow card, and I was corrected by some Watford fans who quite rightly said, yes, you cannot appeal a second yellow. And I hadn't seen the second yellow. So I thought it had been a straight red. That's why I missed that for somehow. But the point is that Kuchka was very good today. I thought he had an improved game. I like his tenacity going forward. He's not afraid to have a shot, and a good shot, not some shot that goes into row Z, a shot on target, which is the only one Watford had in the second half of the game, in any part of the game, the whole game. The only shot on target, to the best of my memory, was from Kuchka, Uraj Kuchka, with a drive low and straight at Aaron Ramsdale, who, by the way, made a big mistake late in the game that he really got let off from, as he mistimed a challenge to get the ball. And Joshua King, with a real opportunity there, hits into the side netting. He tried a striker's instinct to do that and try to score from there, but it was really a very acute angle for him, and it hit the side netting. So Watford had maybe 2 or 3 chances in the entire game. Danny Rose had a shot in the first half that had been really tamely struck by him, and that was probably the only chance Watford had in the first half. Second half, as I said, I alluded to the couple of opportunities that Watford had. The shot by Kuchka, who again I think was really solid today. Liked his play in the middle of the park, and then the opportunity from Josh King didn't quite come off for him. The midfield overall, aside from Kuchka, was good. I liked what Sissoko brought. Again, Sissoko proving to be a steady man there and a leader in that midfield. Made 1 or 2 errant passes, but generally speaking, Sissoko is absolutely the kind of disciplined veteran and skilled midfielder that we need, orchestrating that midfield and trying to push it forward, recycling the ball, pushing the team up the pitch. I think his passing, generally speaking, is good. But again, a couple of 1 or 2 stray passes, that's going to happen in any game for any player. I would like to see the passing continue to improve here for Watford. I think they're going to have to continue to work on their passing the ball and on their ball movement up the pitch and moving up the pitch with the ball faster. I want to see more of that. I know you don't want to turn the ball over, so you are tentative in some cases, because especially against an Arsenal side, you don't want to be out of possession and be hit on the counter, because Arsenal are very good counter-attacking wise. And I think perhaps that was part of the calculus. But I would love to see the ball movement a lot sharper and a lot quicker from Watford. I really would. And they will continue to work on that in these next 2 weeks, now that there is an international break here. Despite the fact that Watford lost this game, there are, as I've seen, some signs. I saw some improvement. The team defense was better. The defending against set pieces was better. The defense against the live ball and open play was better, despite the goal from Emile Smith-Rowe. I think the goalkeeper, as I said, Ben Foster today, acquitted himself very well. Excellent penalty save in the 36th minute off of Aubameyang. I really liked Ben Foster today in goal. His best performance, as I say. And the kick save after that, I thought was very good. And he had a great save in the second half as well. So I think Ben Foster today was the Watford player, the Watford man of the match. Despite us not winning the match, he certainly distinguished himself very well, did Ben Foster in goal. So full credit to him there. I think what Ranieri's done and what he's continuing to do is build a solid base defensively. That's really what he's doing. And isolating areas of the pitch defensively where Watford have to improve. And you are beginning to see some of that. And you saw it today against an Arsenal side that had gone, I think, 8 or 9 Premier League games without defeat and continued that run. But again, they found it hard to break us down. And again, I know I'm not into moral victories, but Arsenal found it difficult to break us down, particularly after the goal was disallowed for offside from Bukayo Saka in the 6th minute, particularly after the penalty saved by Ben Foster. Arsenal had a tough time breaking us down. We got into the half of a clean sheet, and the mission was to continue that into the second half and then take our chances for a smash and grab in this game. I thought before this game began, I said it in the Friday Focus, that Watford could take a point here from Arsenal. I felt that they could. And at halftime, they were very much on for that point. And into the second half, they looked like they could weather that storm, but they didn't quite do it. Look, sometimes that is what happens. The rub of the green goes against you. The bounce of the ball goes against you. I don't think I can really blame anything Watford defensively did on that goal that was scored. Again, you've got a brand new central defensive partnership. Look, these things are going to take time. I think Watford have a performance today that they can at least be proud of. Obviously, the result is not something they can be proud of, but the performance to lose the game 1-0, to keep Arsenal at bay, a clean sheet for the entire first half at the Emirates, to defend as stoutly and as confidently for the most part as Watford did. I think that will give them confidence defensively, and it will give the team a sense of belief in themselves against these top teams like an Arsenal, like a Manchester United who's coming up in 2 weeks' time, like a Leicester City that's coming up in a few weeks' time, and of course the really top dogs in Chelsea and Manchester City. I think that what Ranieri's doing is building a solid defensive base. It's going to continue to improve. And yes, they're probably going to lose both the games against Chelsea and Man City, but who knows? Who knows what can happen in 2 weeks' time against Man United, the other Manchester team? There's no guarantee that Manchester United are going to take 3 points. There's no guarantee. Manchester United are all over the place at the minute, and we'll talk about that, of course. I'll talk about that more when we get to it in a couple of weeks' time after the international break. And then the Leicester City team is not quite up to it this season, not quite as lively as they have been in previous seasons. So Leicester have had a pretty stick in the mud start. So you never know. You never know with these next 4 games. They're going to be intensely challenging. But I think today, despite this result, there are some encouraging signs. I don't know if Danny Rose should be starting. I'm not a big fan of Messina, but Messina, the last couple of games, had acquitted himself a lot better. His discipline was better. And a question is going to have to be asked now against these top teams. Are you going to start Danny Rose in that left back position? Are you going to? Because again, against the top team, he looked really out of sorts. He looked out of sorts against Liverpool. He came back from an injury to start this game. He looked out of sorts again today. He looked out of sorts. Very clumsy challenge against Lacazette in that first half that got the penalty in the first place for Arsenal. And there are a couple other times where Danny Rose just did not look up to it for me. But again, we'll see what Ranieri does in a couple of weeks' time. The only other piece of good news in terms of Watford's defensive commitment is that they will still have 2 more full weeks now to really bed in a lot of the defensive philosophy that Ranieri is trying to and starting to bed into this team. And I think also in the next 2 weeks, you're going to probably see, by the time we get back from this international break, you will see Francisco Surialta at least getting into the game. I think he will either start or he will come off the bench and come into a game. I think that's what's going to happen. That will happen, I think. He will come back in as well. So, look, there is room for improvement. I think Watford, again, defensively improved over the Southampton game. I said in the Friday Focus they couldn't possibly be as bad defensively in this game as they were against Southampton, and they proved to be correct on that. I think there was a much more considered effort to team defending, to individual defending for the most part. And so for me, I'm pleased with the way this Watford side acquitted themselves generally in all areas of the pitch. I would have loved to have seen more attacking endeavor. But again, it's against an Arsenal side, and in a great respect, in a great real sense, you are going to, as an away team at the Emirates, you are going to play more defensively more often than not. And for a Watford side who doesn't have the kind of talent that Arsenal have, they will be more inclined to be more defensive minded. So you saw that today. We kept Arsenal out for 55 or so minutes. Ultimately, it was not good enough, but I think Watford can build on this defensively. And then, of course, we're going to need to have a bit more bite going forward. And for me, Tufan just was not the player today to do that, to link up at the top of that midfield to the forward line through the middle. Was not there for me as far as I'm concerned for Tufan. João Pedro came in. Of course, he had lost his stepfather just a few days ago. And I thought that for all of the things that he's been through, I think he did as well as he could under the circumstances. Now there's going to be 2 weeks, for Watford to really start to bed in a lot more of what Ranieri wants, a lot more to work on for 2 weeks. I know some players will be away on international duty, but at least they've been around Ranieri now, and they will have known what he expects from them. Sarr, for me, a little bit better. Again, Premier League teams have figured him out. And one of the things I've called for from Sarr is to diversify his game a bit more and be a little less predictable, be a bit more dimensional, build something extra into your game. He's a young lad, so he will get frustrated by some of this. But what I would like to see from him is him tracking back more, is him diversifying his game, being a bit more dimensional, and contributing in other ways when the game isn't going well. But he did improve his play, I think, today. He was a little bit more lively. Cucho Hernandez, I think he gave a little bit of bite coming in, but all in all for me, not enough time on the pitch to really establish anything. But again, for me, disappointing result against Arsenal, 1-0 though. Can you really bow your head too far down in shame here with this one? I think performance-wise, you can't, because I think Watford today acquitted themselves a lot better defensively. And building the defensive base is very important. And once you do that, I think other things can follow. And then the balance will start to be achieved in other areas of the pitch. But defensively, I think the first order of the day was to improve after the poor performance against Southampton. The first order of the day was to commit to defending. And that's what this team did today.